Jake Morrison sat in the old bar, drinking his third beer of the night. The place was dark and smelled like cigarettes and sweat. Most people had gone home hours ago, but Jake stayed. He had nowhere else to go. The TV in the corner showed the same news over and over. Big alien ships had appeared in Earth's sky 3 days ago. The news people called them the Galactic Federation. They said these aliens ruled most of the galaxy. They wanted to talk to Earth's leaders. Jake did not care much about aliens. He had his own problems. 5 years ago, he was a Marine. He fought in wars and saved people. Then he got hurt bad in his last mission. The doctors fixed his body, but his mind stayed broken. Now he made money fighting in underground matches. It was not legal, but it paid for his drinks. Hey, you see, this? The bartender pointed at the TV. They say the aliens want to test us somehow. Jake looked up. A woman in a nice suit was talking on the news. She had short brown hair and serious eyes. The words at the bottom said her name was Lisa Carter. She worked for the government. The Federation has given us their terms, Lisa said to the cameras. They want to see if humans are worthy of joining their alliance. They have challenged us to single combat. One of their warriors will fight one of ours. If we win, we can join them as equals. If we lose, we become their subjects. Jake almost laughed. It sounded like something from a movie. But the woman looked scared, and scared people do not lie. On TV. The news showed pictures of the alien ships. They were huge, bigger than cities. Jake counted at least 20 of them floating above Earth. Each one could probably destroy a whole country. The Federation champion is Commander Zareth, Lisa continued. She comes from a race called the Kethfar. She has never lost a fight in 30 years. She has killed over 200 enemies in single combat. The screen showed a picture of the alien. Jake stopped drinking. The thing was massive, maybe 8 feet tall. It looked like a dinosaur that learned to walk on 2 legs. Its skin was covered in thick scales that looked like armor. Its hands ended in claws that could cut through steel. Its teeth were sharp like a shark's. We have 24 hours to choose our champion, Lisa said. The fight will happen on their ship. The rules are simple. Fight until one is dead. No weapons except what you can find in their arena. Jake finished his beer and asked for another. The bartender was watching the TV with his mouth open. That thing will kill anyone we send. The bartender said, Look at the size of it. Jake had seen big enemies before. In the war, he fought people who were bigger, stronger, and better armed than him. But he always found a way to win. That was before his team died. That was before everything went wrong. His phone rang. Jake looked at the number and sighed. It was Lisa Carter. He had met her a few years ago when the government asked him to test some new fighting techniques. She was one of the few people who still called him. Hello, Jake, Lisa said when he answered. I need to see you. Right now. I saw the news. Jake said, Scary stuff. But I am just a broken soldier who fights in dirty clubs now. You are the best fighter I have ever seen, Lisa said. And right now, you might be Earth's only hope. Jake laughed, but it was not a happy sound. You want me to fight that monster? Lisa, I am not the man I used to be. Maybe not, she said. But you are still alive when you should be dead. You have survived things that killed better men. That has to count for something. An hour later, Jake sat in a government building. Lisa sat across from him with 2 other people. One was General Pete Collins, an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes. The other was Dr. Amy Brooks, a scientist who studied alien technology. We have looked at everyone, General Collins said. Special Forces soldiers, martial arts champions, professional fighters. None of them have your record. My record? Jake asked. 37 combat missions, Lisa said, reading from a file. You were wounded 14 times. You should have. Died at least 6 times, but you always got back up. You always completed the mission. Dr. Brooks leaned forward. We have studied the Federation's combat records. Their fighters rely on size, strength, and natural weapons. They end fights quickly. They have never faced someone like you? Someone like me? Jake asked. Someone who refuses to stay down, Lisa said. Someone who gets stronger when things get worse. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the alien ships in the sky. They looked like dark clouds that would never go away. If I do this, I will probably die, he said. Yes, General Collins said. But if you do not do this, everyone dies. Jake thought about his old team. He thought about all the people who were counting on him. He thought about the fights in the dirty clubs, where he proved night after night that he could take punishment and keep going. What do I get if I win? He asked. Earth stays. Free, Lisa said. Humans get to choose their own future. Jake turned around. And if I lose? We become slaves, General Collins said. Our children grow up serving alien masters. Jake sat back down. He looked at each of them. Lisa looked hopeful. The general looked worried. The doctor looked curious, like she was watching an interesting experiment. Okay, Jake said. I will do it. Lisa smiled for the first time since he had known her. Thank you, Jake. But Jake was not doing it for thanks. He was doing it because he was tired of running from fights. He was tired of feeling like a failure. Maybe this was his chance to be useful again. The next morning, Jake stood on the roof of the government building. Above him, a small alien ship waited to take him to the Federation fleet. Lisa stood beside him. Are you ready? She asked. Jake looked up at the ship. It was silver and made no sound as it floated in the air. Soon he would be inside it, going to fight a monster in front of the whole galaxy. No, he said, but I am going anyway. The alien ship opened, and Jake Morrison stepped inside. Earth's future went with him. The alien ship was nothing like Jake expected. Inside, everything was smooth and white. The walls curved in ways that hurt his eyes to look at. Strange symbols glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled clean, like a hospital. A tall, thin alien greeted him. It looked almost human except for its gray skin and black eyes that had no whites. It wore a simple robe and spoke in perfect English. Welcome, human champion, it said in a voice like whispered wind. I am Guide Veltar. I will prepare you for the combat trial. Jake followed the alien through long hallways, through windows. He could see space and the massive Federation ships. Earth looked small and blue in the distance. It was hard to believe that Tiny Ball held everyone he had ever known. Your species interests us, Veltar said as they walked. Most new races send their largest warriors or their most skilled soldiers. You appear to be neither. Thanks, Jake said. You really know how to make a guy feel special. The alien stopped and looked at him with those dark eyes. You make jokes in the face of death. This is curious behavior. They reached a large room filled with strange equipment. Veltar handed Jake a small device that looked like a silver coin. This is a translator, the alien said. It will let you understand all languages during the trial. The combat will be broadcast to every world in the Federation. Billions will watch you die. Billions, huh? Jake put the device behind his ear. It felt warm against his skin. No pressure. Veltar showed him racks of simple weapons. There were knives, clubs, and spears. Nothing fancy, nothing that would give him an advantage over someone with natural claws and armor. You may choose 3 weapons to start with, Veltar said. More weapons are hidden throughout the arena. Finding them is part of the test. Jake picked up a long knife, a short club, and a spear. They felt good in his hands. Not great, but good enough. "Tell me about this Zareth," Jake said. "Commander Zareth Etch is the finest warrior in the Federation," Veltar said, with something like pride. "She has killed Thorian berserkers, Vex shadow dancers, and Krill siegebreakers. She once fought 12 enemies at once and left them all dead." "Sounds tough," Jake said. "What is she like as a person?" Veltar looked confused. "Person? She is Kethver. They do not think like humans. They live only for battle and glory. To them, killing you will be like stepping on an insect." The alien led Jake to another room with a large screen. "You will watch previous combat trials," Veltar said. "Learn what you can." For the next 2 hours, Jake watched aliens fight and die. The arena was huge, with different levels and environments. One section was a desert with burning sand. Another was a frozen wasteland. A third was a jungle with poisonous plants. Gravity changed in different areas. Some places had normal Earth gravity. Others made fighters feel light as feathers or heavy. As Stones. Jake watched Zareth fight 3 different opponents. She moved fast for something so big. Her claws cut through armor like paper. Her teeth could crush bones. She seemed to enjoy the killing, roaring with pleasure each time she struck down an enemy. But Jake noticed something else. Zareth always won the same way. She used her size and strength to overpower her enemies quickly. She had never been in a long fight. She had never faced someone who could take her best shots and keep fighting. "Interesting," he said to himself. "What is interesting?" Veltar asked. "She is used to winning fast," Jake said. "What happens if someone makes her work for it?" The alien did not answer, but Jake thought he saw something like concern in those black eyes. Hours later, Jake stood in a small room next to the arena. Through a window, he could see the combat zone. It was bigger than a football stadium. Thousands of alien creatures sat in the stands, all different shapes and sizes. Some looked like bugs. Others looked like plants that learned to walk. A few looked almost human. At the center of the arena, a raised platform waited. That was where the fight would start. "Human champion," a voice said behind him. Jake turned around and felt his heart skip. Commander Zareth stood in the doorway. Up close, she was even more frightening than on the screen. Her scales were dark green with gold edges. Her eyes were yellow like a cat's, but cold like winter ice. When she smiled, Jake could see rows of sharp teeth. "So you are Earth's greatest warrior," she said. Her voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "You are smaller than I expected." "I get that a lot," Jake said. Zareth walked around him like a predator studying prey. "I have killed warriors twice your size. I have fought creatures with 4 arms and poison blood. What makes you think you can challenge me?" "Honestly," Jake said, "I do not think I can beat you in a fair fight." The alien commander stopped walking. "Then why are you here?" "Because someone has to be," Jake said, "and I am too stupid to quit." For a moment, Zareth looked surprised. Then she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "I almost respect your honesty, human. When I kill you, I will make it quick." "Thanks," Jake said. "That is very kind of you." A loud horn sounded throughout the ship. Veltar appeared in the doorway. "It is time," the guide said. "The trial begins." Now, Jake walked toward the arena entrance. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had been scared before. Fear was an old friend by now. Behind him, he heard Zareth speaking to someone in her own language. The translator let him understand her words. "This will be over in minutes," she was saying. "The human looks weak. I will crush his bones and feast on his courage. Jake smiled. Let her think he was weak. He had been underestimated before. The arena doors opened, and Jake stepped into the light. The crowd's roar hit him like a physical force. Thousands of alien voices cheered and screamed in languages he could not name. The sound was deafening. Across the arena, another door opened. Zareth emerged, and the crowd went wild. She raised her arms and roared back at them. She was their champion, their unbeatable killer. Jake walked to the center platform. The arena floor was made of some kind of metal that felt warm under his feet. Above them, floating cameras captured every angle. Billions of beings across the galaxy were watching. Zareth joined him on the platform. Standing next to her, Jake felt like a child next to an adult. She was nearly 2 feet taller and probably weighed twice as much. Her claws alone were longer than his fingers. A Federation official, another one of those gray-skinned aliens, spoke to the crowd in multiple languages. Citizens of the Federation, it said, today we witness the trial of the human species. Commander Zareth of the Kethfer Empire will face the human champion in single combat. The rules are ancient and simple. Fight until one cannot fight anymore. Victory brings honor. Defeat brings death. The crowd cheered again. Jake noticed that most of them were cheering for Zareth. The official looked at both fighters. Do you understand the terms? I understand, Zareth said. Yeah, Jake said. I got it. The official raised its hand, then let the trial begin. It jumped off the platform. Jake and Zareth stood alone, 20 feet apart. The arena fell silent, except for the hum of the cameras. Zareth smiled, showing all her teeth. Any last words, human? Jake adjusted his grip on his weapons. He looked up at the alien warrior who was about to try to kill him. In the stands, thousands of creatures waited to see him die. Yeah, he said. Let's dance. The horn sounded, and the fight for Earth's future began. Zareth moved faster than Jake thought possible. 1 second she was 20 feet away. The next her claws were slashing toward his face. Jake threw himself backward, feeling the wind from her attack brush his cheek. He rolled to his feet and jabbed. With his spear, the point scraped against her scales and bounced off like he had hit solid rock. Zareth laughed and swung her massive fist. Jake ducked, but not fast enough. The blow caught his shoulder and sent him flying. Jake hit the arena floor hard. Pain shot through his back and arm. The crowd cheered as he struggled to stand. Blood ran down his face from where he had scraped it on the metal floor. First blood to me, Zareth called out, raising her claws for the crowd to see. A few drops of Jake's blood dripped from her fingertips. Jake wiped his face and picked up his weapons. His shoulder throbbed, but it still worked. He had taken worse hits in the underground fights. Zareth charged again. This time Jake was ready. He sidestepped and slashed with his knife as she passed. The blade found a gap between her scales and drew a thin line of dark blood. The alien commander stopped and looked at the small cut on her arm. She seemed more surprised than hurt. You actually marked me, she said. Impressive. But it changes. Nothing. She came at him again, more careful this time. Jake gave ground, letting her push him back across the platform. Her claws whistled through the air, missing him by inches. One swipe caught his club and tore it from his hands. The weapon flew into the crowd. Jake kept moving, staying just out of reach. He was faster than Zareth, but not by much. And she was much stronger. Every time their weapons met, the impact sent shocks up his arms. The alien commander was breathing harder now, but she showed no signs of slowing down. If anything, she seemed to be getting angrier. Stop running, coward, she roared. Face me. Like a warrior. I am facing you, Jake said, dodging another swipe. "Just not the way you want." That made her even madder. She launched herself at him with both claws extended. Jake dropped flat and rolled. Zareth crashed into the platform's edge, her claws scraping sparks from the metal. Jake scrambled to his feet and backed away from the platform. The arena floor stretched out around them, full of different environments. To his left was the desert section, with sand dunes and burning heat. To his right was the frozen area, where ice covered everything and the air made white clouds when you breathed. Zareth followed him down from the platform. "Clever little human," she said. "But you cannot run forever." She was right. Jake was. Already getting tired. The alien commander looked like she could fight for hours. He needed to change the game somehow. Jake ran toward the desert section. The sand was hot under his feet, and the air shimmered with heat. Behind him, Zareth's heavy footsteps shook the ground. "You think the heat will save you?" she called. "My people come from a world of burning deserts. This is nothing to me." But Jake was not trying to escape the heat. He was looking for something else. In the videos, he had seen weapons hidden throughout the arena. There had to be some in the desert. A claw raked across his back, tearing his shirt and drawing blood. Jake stumbled forward and rolled behind a sand dune. He could hear Zareth laughing as she climbed over the dune after him. There, half buried in the sand, was a metal rod about 3 feet long. Jake grabbed it and spun around just as Zareth reached the top of the dune. The rod caught her in the dune. Knee. It was not a hard hit, but it was unexpected. The alien commander stumbled and slid down the dune in a shower of sand. Jake did not wait. He ran to the next environment zone, while Zareth cursed behind him. The jungle section was dark and humid. Thick vines hung from metal trees, and strange plants glowed with their own light. He could hear Zareth crashing through the jungle behind him, breaking branches and roaring with frustration. The sound was getting closer. Jake spotted something hanging from a tree branch. It looked like a net made of metal wire. He grabbed it just as Zareth burst through the undergrowth. "Enough. Games," she snarled. "I will tear you apart piece by piece." She lunged forward. Jake threw the net, and it wrapped around her arms and chest. The alien commander snarled and began tearing at the metal wires. They would not hold her for long, but they slowed her down. Jake ran again, this time toward the ice zone. His breath made white clouds as he entered the frozen area. The floor was slippery, covered with a thin layer of ice. Perfect. Zareth broke free of the net and followed him into the ice zone, but she was moving too fast for the slippery surface. Her feet went out from under her, and she crashed to the ground with a sound like thunder. Jake turned and attacked while she was down. His spear point found another gap in her scales, this one deeper than before. Dark blood flowed onto the ice. Zareth roared in pain and anger. She grabbed Jake's leg and pulled him down. They rolled across the ice, fighting for position. Her claws raked his arms and chest. His knife found her shoulder. They broke apart and struggled to their feet. Both of them were bleeding now. Jake's shirt was torn to ribbons, and red lines covered his arms and chest. Zareth had several cuts on her arms and shoulders, though none looked serious. "You fight well for prey," she said, breathing hard. "But this ends now." She charged across the ice, more careful of her footing this time. Jake tried to dodge, but his feet slipped. Zareth's fist caught him in the stomach and doubled him over. Her other hand grabbed his throat and lifted him off the ground. "Did you really think you could defeat me?" she asked, squeezing his throat. "I am Kethfer. I am Geth itself." Jake could not breathe. Black spots danced in front of his eyes. The crowd was cheering for Zareth, sure that the fight was over. But Jake was not finished. he still had the metal rod in his hand. With the last of his strength, he drove it upward into the soft spot under Zareth's arm. The alien commander screamed and dropped him. She staggered backward, the rod sticking out of her armpit. Dark blood ran down her side. Jake hit the ice hard and gasped for air. His throat felt like it was on fire, but he could breathe again. He rolled away as Zareth pulled the rod from her body and threw it aside. "Impossible," she growled. "You should be dead." Jake got to his feet slowly. Every part of his body hurt. He had cuts on his arms, chest, and back. His throat was bruised from her grip. His shoulder still throbbed from her first punch. But he was still standing. He was still fighting. "Sorry to disappoint you," he said, his voice rough from the choking. For the first time since the fight started, Zareth looked uncertain. She had thrown everything at him, and he was still alive. Her wounds were bleeding freely now, and she was breathing harder than before. In the stands, the alien crowd had grown quiet. They had expected their champion to end this quickly. Instead, the small human was still fighting back. "This is not possible," Zareth said, more to herself than to Jake. "You are just human. You are weak. You should be broken." Jake picked up his knife from where it had fallen. The blade was stained with dark alien blood. "Maybe I am weak," he said, "but I am still here." Zareth's eyes burned with rage and something else. Something that might have been fear. "Then I will have to try harder," she snarled. But Jake could see the doubt in her eyes now. She had given him her best shots, and he had taken them all. She was starting to wonder if she could actually lose, and that doubt would be her downfall. The fight moved back to the main platform. Both warriors were hurt and tired, but neither was ready to quit. Zareth's movements were slower now, more careful. The cuts on her body were bleeding, and she favored her left arm where Jake had stabbed. Her Jake was in worse shape. His face was swollen, and blood covered most of his body. But his eyes were still sharp, still watching for any opening. The alien crowd was no longer cheering. They watched in stunned silence as their unbeatable champion struggled against a human who should have died 10 minutes ago. "You will not win," Zareth said, but her voice lacked the confidence it had before. "I am Kethvar. We do not lose to lesser species." "Maybe," Jake said, wiping blood from his mouth. "But I am not trying to be better than you. I am just trying to be tougher." That made her angry again. She rushed forward with her claws extended. Jake sidestepped and brought his knife up. The blade sliced across her ribs, opening another wound. Zareth spun and backhanded him across the face. Jake flew backward and hit the platform hard. Stars exploded in his vision. He could taste blood in his mouth. The alien commander stood over him, breathing heavily. "Stay down," she said. "This has gone on long enough." Jake tried to get up, but his legs would not work right. Everything hurt. His vision was blurry, and he could hear ringing in his ears. Zareth raised her foot to stomp on his head. "It is over, human." But Jake rolled aside at the last second. Her foot cracked the metal platform where his head had been. Jake grabbed her ankle and pulled. Zareth lost her balance and fell hard beside him. They both struggled to their feet. Jake could barely stand, but he was still moving. Zareth looked shocked that he was not dead yet. "How?" she gasped. "How are you still fighting?" Jake did not answer. He could not waste breath on words. Every part of his body screamed in pain, but he kept moving forward. They fought across the platform, trading blows that would have killed normal people. Jake's knife cut her arm. Her claws raked his chest. Neither fighter could land a finishing blow. The battle was taking too long. Zareth was used to quick victories. She had never been in a fight that lasted more than a few minutes. But Jake had been. and plenty of long fights. In the underground clubs, matches sometimes went on for an hour. "I do not understand," Zareth said as they circled each other. "You should be dead. Any rational creature would be dead." "Good thing I am not rational," Jake said. He was learning her patterns now. When she got frustrated, she attacked high. When she was confident, she went for body shots. When she was scared, she tried to grab him. Right now, she was all three. Zareth made a desperate charge, trying to tackle him to the ground. Jake dropped low and drove his shoulder into her wounded. Sighed. She screamed and stumbled past him. Jake spun and slashed with his knife. The blade cut deep across her back. Dark blood sprayed across the platform. Zareth fell to one knee, gasping. For a moment, Jake thought she might give up. But then she turned around with murder in her eyes. "I will not lose to you," she snarled. "I will not be the first HFY to fall to a human." She grabbed a piece of broken metal from the platform and threw it at his head. Jake ducked, but the metal caught his shoulder and spun him around. Zareth H was on him before he could recover. Her claws raked down his back, cutting deep. Jake screamed and fell forward. The alien commander grabbed him by the hair and lifted his head. "Look at me when you die," she said, but instead of delivering the killing blow, she hesitated. She wanted to savor the moment. She wanted the crowd to see her victory. That hesitation cost her everything. Jake still had his knife. With the last of his strength, he drove it up between her ribs. The blade slid between her scales and found something soft and vital. Zareth's eyes went wide. She let go of his hair and staggered backward. The knife was buried to the hilt in her side. "No," she whispered. "This cannot be." She pulled the knife out with a wet sound. More blood flowed from the wound. She tried to take a step toward Jake, but her legs gave out. She fell to her knees on the platform. Jake struggled to sit up. Every movement sent fire through his body, but he managed to prop himself against the platform's edge. Zareth H was on her hands and knees now, blood pooling beneath her. She looked up at Jake with confusion and rage. "I had you," she said, her voice weak. "I beat you. I felt your bones break. I heard you scream." "Yeah," Jake said, spitting blood. "You hurt me pretty bad." "Then why?" Zareth asked. "Why did you not stay down?" Jake looked at her. The mighty HFY warrior was dying, and she could not understand how she had lost to someone so much smaller and weaker. "Because staying down was not an option," he said simply. Zareth H tried to stand one. More time. She got halfway up before the strength left her legs. She collapsed face first onto the platform. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of alien creatures stared in shock at their fallen champion. Jake Morrison, the human who should have died in the first minute, was still alive, but Zareth H was not finished yet. With enormous effort, she rolled onto her back and looked up at Jake. Blood ran from the corner of her mouth, but her eyes still burned with defiance. "You think you have won?" she gasped. "You are broken. You can barely move. I may be dying, but you will die too." She was right. Jake could feel his strength leaving him. The cuts on his body were bleeding freely, and his vision kept going dark at the edges. But he was not dead yet. And as long as he was breathing, the fight was not over. Zareth made one last attempt to kill him. She grabbed a shard of broken metal and tried to throw it at his head, but her arm was too weak. The metal fell from her fingers and clattered. On the platform, she stared up at the arena's ceiling, her breathing shallow and rapid. "I do not understand," she whispered. "I am HFY. I am supposed to win." Jake looked down at her. Even dying, she was magnificent. A perfect warrior brought down by something she could not comprehend. "Maybe that was your problem," he said. Quietly, Zareth's eyes focused on him one last time. "You fought well, human," she said. "Better than I expected. But this is not over. Even if you beat me, others will come. Stronger ones. They will not underestimate you like I did. That all you got?" Jake asked that the words hung in the air between them. Zareth's eyes widened as she realized what he was saying. Even now, even beaten and bleeding, the human was asking if she had anything left to give. "You are insane," she whispered. "Probably." Jake agreed. Commander Zareth, undefeated champion of the Galactic Federation, closed her eyes and died on the arena floor. Jake Morrison, broken soldier from Earth, had won the impossible fight. The arena stayed silent for a long moment. Jake sat against the platform's edge, breathing hard and bleeding from dozens of cuts. Zareth lay motionless a few feet away, her yellow eyes staring at nothing. Then the crowd exploded. Some aliens cheered. Others roared in anger. A few sat in stunned silence, unable to believe what they had seen. The noise was deafening, but Jake barely heard it. He was too tired to care about the crowd. Medical teams rushed onto the platform. Some went to Zareth, but there was nothing they could do for her. Others surrounded Jake with strange devices that beeped and flashed. "Human is alive," one of the doctors said in a voice like clicking insects. "Badly wounded, but alive. How is this possible?" Jake tried to answer, but no words came out. His throat was too damaged from Zareth's grip. A doctor put a mask over his face that made breathing easier. Guide Tar appeared beside the medical team. The tall alien looked down at Jake with those dark eyes, but now there was something different in them, something that might have been respect. "You have done something impossible," Veltar said quietly. "In 3,000 years of Federation history, no one has ever defeated a Kethver champion in single combat." Jake managed to croak out a few words. "Does that mean we win?" "Yes," Veltar said. "By the ancient laws, Earth has earned its place in the Federation. But more than that, you have changed everything." The medical team lifted Jake onto a floating stretcher. As they carried him off the platform, he could see Federation officials arguing in the stands. Some pointed at Zareth. "Body." Others gestured toward Jake. Whatever they were saying, they were not happy about it. Hours later, Jake woke up in a medical bay. His body was covered in bandages, and tubes ran from his arms to strange machines. The pain was mostly gone, replaced by a floating feeling that meant they had given him drugs. Lisa Carter sat in a chair beside his bed. She looked like she had been crying, but she was smiling now. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it. How long was I out?" Jake asked. His voice was rough, but at least he could talk again. 2 days, Lisa said. "The Federation doctors fixed you up. They said you should have died from blood loss alone, but somehow you kept going." "Lucky me," Jake said. Lisa laughed, but it sounded shaky. "Lucky all of us. Do you know what you have started?" Jake tried to sit up, but the machines beeped angrily. At him. "What do you mean?" "The news of your victory has spread across the galaxy," Lisa said. "Every species in the Federation is talking about the human who beat Zareth. Some are scared. Others are curious. A few want to test themselves against Earth's warriors." "Great," Jake said. "More fights." "Not just fights," Lisa said. 3 different species have asked for human military advisors. They want to learn how to train soldiers who can take punishment and keep fighting. The Thorian Empire wants to hire human mercenaries. The Vex Collective is offering a trade deal for human endurance techniques. Jake closed his eyes. He had won the fight, but the consequences were just beginning. "There is more," Lisa said. "The Federation Council is meeting to discuss new rules for combat trials. Apparently, your fight lasted longer than any trial in recorded history. They are calling it the Human Endurance Protocol, What does that mean? It means you have given humanity a reputation, Lisa said. We are no longer seen as weak prey species. Now we are the ones who do not know when to quit. A soft chime sounded, and Guide Veltar entered the medical bay. The alien moved quietly to Jake's bedside. You are recovering well, Veltar said. Our doctors are impressed by your species' healing abilities. Most beings would still be unconscious from such injuries. We are hard to kill, Jake said. So we have learned, Veltar said. I have come to inform you that the Federation Council has voted. Earth will be granted full membership with all the rights and privileges that entails. You have earned your species a place among the stars. Jake nodded. It was what they had fought for, but he felt no joy in it. Too much pain, too much blood. There is something else, Veltar continued. The Kethver Empire has issued a formal challenge. They want to send another champion to avenge Zareth's defeat. Let them come, Jake said tiredly. But they will have to wait in line. Veltar looked puzzled. Line? Lisa smiled. He means other species will want to fight humans too. Word travels fast in space. This is true, Veltar said. 6 different races have requested combat trials with human champions. They wish to test the limits of your endurance. Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, warriors from across the galaxy were preparing to fight humans. Earth had won its freedom, but the prize was becoming a target for every fighter who wanted to prove themselves. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we go home, Lisa said. Earth needs to prepare. The Federation will want to establish embassies and trade relationships. And we need to start training more fighters like you. Good luck with that, Jake said. I am not sure you can train someone to be too stupid to quit. Maybe not, Lisa said, but we can try. A week later, Jake stood on the observation deck of a Federation transport ship. Earth grew larger in the window as they approached home. It looked exactly the same as when he had left, but everything had changed. Behind him, Lisa was talking to Federation diplomats about trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Jake was not paying attention. He was thinking about the underground club where this had all started. It seemed like a lifetime ago. His reflection in the window showed the scars from his fight with Zareth. They would fade with time, but they would never completely disappear. Just like the memory of that final moment when she had asked him why he would not stay down. The truth was, Jake was not sure he knew the answer himself. Maybe it was training. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was just fear of disappointing the people who were counting on him. Or maybe it was something deeper. Something that made humans different from every other species in the galaxy. The ability to keep going when any rational being would give up. Jake, Lisa called. Come look at this. He walked over to where she stood with a Federation official. On a screen, they were showing news broadcasts from across the galaxy. Alien reporters were talking about the human victory. Some showed clips of the fight. Others interviewed Federation military experts. What are they saying? Jake asked. They are trying to understand how you won, the Federation official said. Most experts agree that Zareth was the superior fighter. In every measurable way, yet you defeated her. They are calling it the human paradox. The human paradox? How a weaker being can defeat a stronger one through sheer refusal to accept defeat, Lisa explained. Apparently, it is a concept most alien species do not understand. Jake watched himself on the screen, bloody and beaten, but still standing. Over Zareth's body, he barely recognized the man in the video. You know what the strangest part is? He said. What? Lisa asked. I think she was right. I should have stayed down. Any smart person would have quit after the first few hits. But you did not, Lisa said. No, Jake agreed. I did not. The ship shuddered slightly as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Through the window, Jake could see clouds and blue oceans. Soon he would be home, back to the world that had always seemed too small for him. But now Earth was part of something bigger. Humanity had a place in the galaxy, earned through blood and stubbornness, and the simple refusal to quit when quitting made sense. Jake Morrison had gone into space as a broken soldier looking for a way to die usefully. He was coming home as the man who had changed humanity's fate, and somewhere out there among the stars, other warriors were preparing to test themselves against the species that did not know when to quit. Let them come, Jake thought. Earth would be ready. After all, humans were very good at doing impossible things. They just had to be too stubborn to realize they were impossible. The ship touched down on Earth's surface, and Jake Morrison came home to a world that would never be the same. Behind him, the galaxy watched and wondered what other surprises humanity might have in store. The age of human expansion was just beginning.